everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TV Review Thursday. I'm your host, the OT Astartes, and we are carrying on with Hetty Feather. So we're up to episodes 5 and 6 today. Before we get into it, though, a few things to go over. So first of all, the obvious one, I've gone faceless. This is how it's going to be for here on out. So you may remember a while ago that I decided to bring in some changes to the channel. I'm bringing in those changes today. So basically, I'm going to go faceless. It's not a voice filter. I've just turned my echo up on my mic. See, it's got a dial where you can go really echoey or just condense it like this and sound normal. But yeah, I've decided to go with this because it sounds more like an Astartes voice. Second thing, so wrestling used to be a big thing on this channel. I used to do it every week. Now, we haven't resolved the USB issue. It's to do with the USB port and the Xbox. So, therefore, I've decided I'm not going to do wrestling anymore just because of what's happened. And I don't want to spend a load of money on a new Xbox because that would just be wasting money and time. I didn't want to cancel out wrestling, but I knew it was a possibility when I first encountered the USB problem. And I embraced it, I embraced the change. So wrestling won't be a thing on this channel anymore. I'll edit out the little banner where it says wrestling every week, and in the description I'll change the thing where it doesn't say wrestling. I'm really unhappy about ending it because I had an entire pay-per-view plan. Like, the main event was going to be a video game version of Noah from the Next Step versus AJ Styles. And in my vision, he would walk out to Demigods, which was his Ring of Honor theme. Like, imagine how hyped the crowd would have been. And I really wish I could have shared it with you. I had an entire match card planned as well, like a 20-woman Royal Rumble on 2K23. So yeah, it's a massive shame. But anywho, Gallifrey Falls, we are nearing the end of filming. I've just got to film the resolution to the problem, and then I shall very much be done with it, and editing will begin. But it's going to take a while, I think, to do the resolution. So yeah, I think that's just about all our housekeeping tips. Let's begin on season 1, episode 5. So we begin of a flashback of Hetty, Jem, her borrowed brother, and Gideon running through fields. And I instantly thought of the song Fields of Gold when this scene played, only because it was wheat fields. And then we cut to another part of the flashback where Hetty and Jem talk under the tree. Jem makes a promise and says that he will come to the Foundling Hospital to get her out of there. And they shake a hand on it. And then that scene immediately cuts to Sheila saying, "I think that's going to happen, Feather." Oh, I forgot about this week's thumbnail. I'm still getting used to it after my holiday thing a few weeks back. So, share screen. Boom. So, oh, Matron, if you think that the text changes people, then just spend a day in the warp with a word bearer. I'm actually going to do some word bearers now. I've just discovered them, and I think they're pretty interesting. So there are new foundlings coming in, and each of the girls is assigned a new foundling each. There is one coming in called Eliza, and she is really defiant. And when she says, I want to go back and see Jem, Hetty's eyes widen. So Hetty says that Eliza was just a baby when she last saw her. So Eliza recites her early childhood, and this makes Hetty think that Jem had forgotten her. So this makes Hetty upset, and Polly and Mary comfort her. Then Matron Bottomly comes in to tell them to get back to work. And you can see that she is very much full of doubt here. We cut to the tower where Hetty's friends have a meeting. They ask Gideon to remind her that Jem hasn't forgotten about her and their promise that they made years ago. So we then cut to the boys. The next day, they have a military parade when a woman walks in and she asks to see Matron Bottomly. And she's got that cheeky northern accent. Matthias gives the visitor directions and she runs into Matron just as she's about to tell off Eliza or getting taken away to the tent by Matron. The woman goes to talk with her and it's revealed that the visitor is in fact Matron's sister, Annie. You're right, Gertie. Oh, Acky Thump. Oh, Matron. If you think the tense changes people, then just spend a day in the walk with a world bearer. You know what? In a few weeks' time, we're going to see Peter Kay in Birmingham. I have missed Peter Kay. I prefer him to Michael McIntyre. Like, I don't... If I had a favourite comedian, it's got to be Peter Kay. Oh, tell me what else we saw. We were in Chester the other day, and we saw Pete Waterman. I wanted to do that. You know when in that outtake when apparently nearly gave Pete Waterman an heart attack. I wanted to go up to him and do the shit-o thing, or if you're ready to da, da, or the locomotion, just to be cheeky. But anywho, things are about to get very serious. Annie is there because their mother is dying and wants to see Gertrude one last time. Matron's not too happy about this and she resents her mother for sending her away to the workhouse, as is later revealed in the episode, and she hasn't forgiven her. Gideon visits Hetty dressed up as a girl while Hetty's doing the washing or folding it up. And Hetty has given up all hope on finding Jem. She feels as though she's lost a part of herself. So Nurse Winterson comes in to tell Hetty that Eliza hasn't shown up for her class, and Hetty begs her not to tell Matron Bottomly. And she recognises Gideon straight away. The thing about Nurse Winterson is that she doesn't punish Gideon. She's like, right, you go quickly. I'm not going to tell anyone. Because, you know, she knows what Matron is like, as is revealed in the next episode. Then Hetty goes off to find Eliza, and Sheila walks in and she says that she directed her to Matron's private quarters. Matron's sister, back in Matron's office, Annie is still there, and Matron is still reluctant to go to see her mother while she's dying. Then Cranbourne comes in and is immediately told off. Poor old Cranbourne. Tell you what, I just finished reading Galaxy in Flames, and Matthew Ashford, who played Cranbourne, would be a great Saul Tarvitz, or at least a Torgadon so he's one of the Lunar Wolves or Sons of Horus. Definitely read Galaxy in Flames if you're new to 40k, because it shows off one of the worst tragedies in 40k history. I think it's worse than the fall of Cadia, but that's just because I'm a Horus Heresy simp. But it also shows that why the Emperor's Children are my favourite legion, because of some of them were loyalists. But anywho, so we cut to Matron Bottomly's quarters, and Eliza is cutting up her clothes. Hetty warns her that she'll be thrown in the tent if Matron spots her, so they both hide under the bed. Matron comes in as she argues with her sister. She spots the torn clothes, and she spots Hetty hiding under her bed. She covers for her sister and is taken away to the tench. And Matron's sister Annie, when she's gone, hears Eliza crying. Annie, being the softer of the two, she comforts her, and Eliza warns that Hetty is going to be put into the tench. So then Hetty is thrown into the tench by Matron Bottomly. While Sheila and co celebrate, Polly gives the emergency signal to everyone. Afterwards, Matron's sister confronts her, and she compares her to the matron that they had at the workhouse. Gertie asks Annie to leave. Ned notices the signal, and they meet in the tower. Mary says grimly, as she reflects on her possible time in the tench, that it changes people. All right. Being locked in a room in the dark is not going to change you. They're so overdramatic about this. The warp changes people, but the tench doesn't. I mean, I'm sure Mary probably spent time in the tench. I think this is proof that Mary spent time in the tench because, you know, she said that it changes people. And to think earlier on in an off-screen type story, Mary was more excitable, more happy, more free-spirited until she got trapped in the tench. And I think now she turned into more of a insecure person because of it. But yeah, the dark is very scary if you're trapped in the tench. But I've just remembered that there could be any rats in there or anything else. And rats are horrible as a whole, as was shown last episode. So during the night, Annie goes in, takes the key, and has a talk with Hetty about her and Matron's past together in the workhouse. And she believed that everyone had to be punished at some point. I think she'd be a great sister of battle or an inquisitor, because they're all like, have you seen the text-to-speech device heresy scene where someone's looking at something and then everyone is declared a heretic, and then the inquisitor's like, you know what? Exterminatus. Matthias attempts to make a plan. Back to Hetty and Annie. Annie states that Matron was changed by the workhouse, and Hetty says that Annie has to leave her now. She knows that now that, of course, Matron has a weakness and being reminded of the past. And I love how, and I've actually put this in here, the tench being described as like it's the warp or something. The next day, Hetty's freed and cheekily taunts her by saying, a poor innocent girl like me gets punished. And then when she says the word workhouse, Matron's like, you dare, Feather. So then she goes off to meet Annie, but she tells her that it's a bit too late and that her mother's died. She's, of course, devastated. Well, anyone would be. You know, a death is sad for just about anybody. So whilst Hetty's doing the laundry, she finds Jem turning up dressed as a foundling girl. He tells Hetty that Matthias and everyone else sent a letter to Jem telling him to come and see Hetty. She is reassured that Jem didn't forget her, and Jem gives her letters that he sent to her years ago. And of course, hospital protocol states that letters cannot be sent to foundlings at all, or Matron just gets rid of them. So now I move on to episode 6. So the Foundling Hospital is having a charity day, and the foundlings are practicing a hymn to sing. Now everyone is completely bored. Like, we get to see Hetty like with a hand in her face, like, why are we even here? Nurse Winterson turns up late, and the choir master says that the first verse of the hymn should be a solo. Sheila says that she's going to be auditioning. The charity day is to raise money for an organ that is breaking down. And the hymn writer, Miss Jacob Melrose, is offering £100 to help them with the upkeep of the organ. Hetty and co listen to Sheila singing, and it is that bad. Even Colleen Ballinger's apology sounds better than this. So then Gideon comes in and auditions. He's quite hesitant about it at first, but then once he gets going, he's really good at singing. This gets him the solo. Nurse Winterson suggests to Gideon that Jacob Melrose has a choir school and that Gideon should be a part of it. So then Hetty asks Winterson about musicals, and she gets the foundlings up and dancing and have a jolly old time yelling, "Where did you get that hat? Where did you get that hat? Where did you get that hat? I really want the same as that. Da 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 da. Where did you get that hat? Where did you get that hat?" That was my best version. Sorry, folks. Sorry I had to endure that. So then we cut to Matron Bottomly's office, where Nurse Macclesfield gives her a letter. Matron immediately goes in to talk to Nurse Winterson, interrupting the little old song and dance, and she shows Nurse Winterson a ticket and fires her for influencing the children. Later that night, Hetty and co have a tower meeting. Polly suggests that they all go on strike, but nobody wants to do that until Sheila suggests that they make everybody strike. Sheila offers to negotiate with the other foundlings and convince them. And Matthias manages to get the boys to go on strike as well. Rehearsals continue and they drag on. Then Matron manages to find a list of people who signed up to go on strike because of what happened with Nurse Winterson. And then Hetty stands up, then Polly, then Harriet, and then everybody else. And they confess to doing it, to writing that list. And they all confess to wanting to strike. Hetty demands that Nurse Winterson gets her job back. And the foundlings all sit on the floor in protest. Cranbourne then insists that they rehire Nurse Winterson, but Matron says that she will not reverse her decision for the sake of the foundlings. The foundlings are getting quite tired later on in the day when Matron walks in with some food. Some of the lads, like Vince and Judd, go and eat the food. Sheila tells everybody that she was going to get the solo anyway, and Hetty and Gideon both argue about it, and he walks off. I think that this is an episode that shows that Hetty can be quite bratty at times because she wants what's best for her and not Gideon, and she forgets that other people exist and not just her, because she can live in her own world sometimes. And so later that day, people turn up for the concert, and Jacob Melrose is eager to hear the children sing and wants to listen into their rehearsals. A matron comes in to check on the protesting foundlings, and Hetty is still reluctant. Hetty says that Matron needs them to sing, and Matron threatens to put Gideon in the tench if they don't stop protesting. But for the sake of Gideon, Hetty goes to the chapel and everybody else follows her. And so they can begin the concert. And then the kids sing, "Where did you get that hat? Where did you get that hat?" Bob-om. They are met with an applause. And Matron is not very happy about this. Like, it's that fake happy. And then they go on to sing the hymn itself. After the concert, Hetty apologizes to Gideon. Melrose then comes to praise him for his singing. And Hetty says that Nurse Winterson was fired and that Nurse Winterson taught the foundlings the song anyway. Melrose convinces Matron Bottomly to get Nurse Winterson back. And he also says that Gideon is too young to go to his choir school, but he will keep an eye on his career as he progresses. "We shall watch your career with great interest, young Skywalker." The next day, Nurse Winterson comes back and everybody is overjoyed. And that ends the episode. So I do think that they're a bit over dramatic by describing the tench, saying that it changes people. I think that our first reunion with Hetty and Jem, in this episode, there's a lot of dress up going on here. So, like, both Jem and Gideon impersonate foundling girls. And I think Matthias's plan was clever to write the letter to Jem where they have invisible ink. They use that a lot in the war as well. During the war, I think we see a moment of regret from Matron Bottomly where she wants to go and see her mother because, you know, this was her last chance to make amends from her. This was her last chance to make amends with her mother before she goes for good. And Matron very much regrets it. And I think this is one of the episodes that breaks Matron Bottomly in a way. We find out a bit about her past and why she's like she is. As for the choir episode, I found the auditions hilarious. It has its humor at times where, like, for instance, in the beginning in the chapel where Hattie's got a hand on her face going like, why are we even here? Sheila's god-awful singing that sounds like a banshee. And I think that the foundling protest as well, just as the concert is about to begin, I think when they save the show last minute, and I think this shows a rather selfish side of Hetty, where she wants to take Matron down really badly, like she's that desperate to take down her enemy. So yeah, that ends today's episode. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode. So goodbye and good night.